was the great human teacher Mickey Mouse who once said, "If at first you don't succeed, try again." And it is with this in mind that 20th Century Studios has tapped the Star Trek Picard showrunner Terry Matalas to pen a script for a remake of the 1985 cult classic Enemy Mine. Stick around to find out what else is in store for the humans and the Drax. I'm Brennan Sem for the New Wave Nerds. Subscribe down below for more nerd content and commentary. Now let's get into the news. From The Hollywood Reporter exclusive, Star Trek Picard showrunner Terry Matalas tackling remake of 1980s sci-fi movie Enemy Mine. The original movie starred Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. Terry Matalas, the showrunner who steered the final season of Star Trek Picard to new ratings and critical heights, has been tapped to write an update of the 1985 cult sci-fi movie Enemy Mine for 20th Century Studios. Set in a future where mankind is warring with a reptilian alien species, Mine starred Dennis Quaid as a human pilot and Louis Gossett Jr. as an alien who crash land on a desolate planet. Both have deep-seated hatred for one another, but are forced to overcome their prejudices to survive. Things are taken up a notch when the human pilot must take care of the alien's baby when the reptilian is no longer available. So this is news that I definitely didn't expect, but it came at such a happy time. It was a very happy coincidence. As it happens, my father and I both rewatched Enemy Mine for a My Father Before Me coming to you this very Saturday, so stick around for that to hear our full thoughts. But honestly, I was a little, lukewarm when I first read this. I had no idea what I was getting into, and so I thought, this seems a little bit weird to force a remake. But after watching it, I'm in favor of it. I think it could be really fun. I think it could be really interesting. And Terry Matalas certainly has a knack for writing great sci-fi. Obviously, we mentioned Star Trek Picard. We'll get down to some of his other filmography later. Terry Matalas is also tapped to write the script for Marvel's new Vision series, so I'm really interested to see where that is going. Honestly, Terry Matalas is making quite the rounds. He is certainly making moves in this last year or so. Since the premiere of the third season of Star Trek Picard, he has become somewhat of a hot commodity in the space. And so I'm glad to see him getting more and more work. I'm glad to see him expanding out of just TV into some more into some more film with this Enemy Mine remake. And I hope that this does really well, because I would like to see more and more of him based off of what he did with Star Trek Picard, and I'm really, really interested in seeing what he does with the Vision. I think this movie, ultimately, just apart from the actual aspect let's remove Enemy Mine from the equation entirely, and let's just talk about remakes in general. Now, I think remakes can be done, and they can be done very well. One of my favorite movies of all time is a remake, right? I always talk about the 2005 King Kong, and that is a remake of the 1933 classic, and of the 1976 one with Jeff Bridges, for that matter. And I absolutely love that movie. So I don't feel right just saying, blanket remakes are bad. I do think more often than not they are bad. I mean, look at the 2001 Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. That was just terrible. Absolutely terrible. And honestly, I think the worst part about that is just the attempt to recreate the twist feeling and the subversion of expectations that you get from the original 1958 movie. But like last week on My Father Before Me, we talked about the escape movies. And we talked a lot about possible remakes and recastings for that. And that's another one that I would really be in favor of seeing again. I think there's a lot of potential there. And it could be really fun with some of our modern action stars and modern effects. And so, generally speaking, as for the My Father Before Me movies we do, I'm in favor of remakes for at least a few of them, right? The Escapes, I'm in favor for this. I don't think you should remake The Last Starfighter or Starman, or I don't think you should touch Big Trouble in Little China. I think that should probably just stay as it is. I can't think of any. Oh, Black Hole. I know that they're remaking that. That is one that I would really, really like to see. I can't remember who is attached to that, but I think it was a name of somebody who I was fairly familiar with. That's right. Here we go. From IMDb, John Spates has been hired to kickstart the project, which has Joe Kosinski, the filmmaker behind the upcoming Tom Cruise sci-fi pick Oblivion. Whoa, when was this article made? 2013? Okay, so this is this is definitely not current. Let's see. I don't think this is actually going to happen anymore. Oh, here we go. It was canned as of 2022. That sucks. I would really, really like to see a remake of that one. That would be really fun. Oh, sorry guys, I didn't realize that the entire camera was... let's see. I just want to see John Spates here. That's right. That's why I remember the name. Prometheus, Doctor Strange, the Dune movies. Oh, Gears of War. That's going to be really interesting. The Darkest Hour. This is a weird collection. We've got some sort of awkward, not so fantastic things, and we've got some, absolute bangers in Dune and Doctor Strange. Is he the sole writer on Doctor Strange? No, he's not. Okay, so we got a couple writers here, and I believe Denis Villeneuve co-wrote Dune. And Eric Roth. Okay, so yeah. Maybe John Spates not so good on his own. So maybe it's good that he's not attached to the Black Hole remake. But I really am interested in various remakes of some of these My Father Before Me's we've done. I don't think all of them need to be done, and I think if you're going to pick films to remake, I think it needs to be made with a specific reason in mind, not just to invoke a feeling of nostalgia and make more money or whatever. I think it should be remade for an explicit purpose, right? So if we're remaking Enemy Mine, you remake it because you really like the message and you want to update the graphics, right? Or if there's a classic movie like 1933 King Kong, which is absolutely fantastic, you want to remake that so that you can actually showcase the glory, the beauty of the beast of King Kong, right? With the new wonderful effects and motion capture and stuff. So I don't think remakes blanket aren't necessarily bad, but I think if your goal with making a remake is simply to capture that feeling of nostalgia and to hopefully rake in some of the nostalgia money, I think then you're making a wrong choice, and ultimately that means that I think the remake is not going to be all that good. Let's get back to the article though. Mine was the English language debut of German filmmaker Wolfgang Petersen, who took over the project after 20th Century Fox fired original director Richard Loncran, I don't know how to pronounce that, during production. The imbroglio, which necessitated reshooting the film, ballooned the budget, with more woe coming when the movie crash-landed at the box office. Years later, however, the movie enjoyed a reappraisal, with many lauding its themes of tolerance and respect, earning it a cult following. The original film was based on a novella by the sci-fi author Barry B. Longyear. The novella was originally published in Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine in 1979. The story won the Nebula Award that year for Best Novella. It was followed by 2 sequels and eventually published as a trilogy titled The Enemy Papers. That actually sounds really interesting. I would like to read that. Maybe I'll get a hold of that and do that for a weekly fixation someday. No producer or director is currently on board. Okay, so, I honestly, like I said, we'll talk about this more when we get into the actual My Father Before Me. But I'm really surprised that this movie didn't go over all that well at the box office. I'm surprised that it kind of crashed. I'm curious to know what else came out this year. We're in 1985, so this would have been, I want to say Back to the Future, right? I think I always think it's 84, but it's actually 85. Yeah, 85. Let's see, what else came out this year? 1985 movies. Here we go. Let's see. Legend. Okay, that looks... honestly, I really like that poster. Oh, this is what it was. It was outperformed by Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and Ewoks, The Battle for Endor, those absolutely amazing films, both of which have been discussed on My Father Before Me's in the past, so go ahead and give those a listen. Oh, Brazil, I remember Dad watched that. He said that was pretty decent. Wow, Red Sonja. Jewels of the Nile. I believe that this is the sequel to... oh, Jiminy Christmas. What is it called? Or maybe it's not a sequel. Why did I think it was a sequel? I think I read an article where they said it was a sequel, but now I'm confused. But this is, it's got Michael Douglas, sort of, maybe a bit related to Romancing the Stone. I don't know. Jack Colton is his character in this. Let's see, Jack. So maybe it is a sequel, and I just hate the way that the IMDb webpage is laid out because it doesn't directly tell you like it does in the app. But I read in an article that this went over very well, and so maybe that didn't help. Young Sherlock Holmes, Chris Columbus, that's a good one. Clue, classic. I actually don't think that one went over all that well either. I think that one's just a bit of a cult classic as well. So honestly, if we're being serious here, what the heck's going on in 1985? I thought it was a really good year for movies, but honestly, I'm not seeing all that much here. I mean, I know Tarantino always says that the 1980s is one of the worst. Oh, The Breakfast Club. That's a good one. One of the worst years for movies. He says the 70s are great, the 80s are bad, and then the 90s are great. Ran, I know this is a classic as well. I really want to watch that. Yeah, so I don't really understand. I don't know why it didn't really go over all that well. I thought it was a great movie. Like I said, we'll go deeper in on the My Father Before Me this Saturday. Tune into that. But like I thought it was fun. I don't know why it didn't necessarily, do that well. I don't know why it performed so poorly. I thought it was really good. But, obviously it went through a bit of a reappraisal and has become a cult classic. I'm familiar with the name, of course, because it is dropped in a one-line joke in the TV series Psych. So, of course, I'm vaguely familiar with it, just very indirectly. But I don't know. I mean, that's really surprising to me. I mean, I thought the effects were moderately decent, I guess I can't really think of many other movies of the time to necessarily compare it to. It's 2 years post Jedi, so it's, it's sort of tough to follow that because Jedi is pretty solid. I don't know. This is weird. But ultimately, I think I'm interested in seeing this. I'm glad to see more of these My Father Before Me's, the cult classics that my dad really enjoyed, that sort of had an impact on him when he was a youth. I'm glad to see them sort of make their way back into the limelight and hopefully have a bit of a resurgence and make some remakes that do them justice. So I think I'm interested to see this. I want to see how it goes. I'm glad to see more of Terry Matalas, and I've got high hopes for this film. Obviously, we'll have to wait to see who is starring in it in the roles of Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr., who will be the human, who will be the Drac, and we'll have to wait and see who will be directing this film. But we'll certainly keep you apprised as more information becomes available. Subscribe down below for more nerd content and commentary. I'm Brendan Sem for the New Wave Nerds. We'll be back with a brand new news segment tomorrow. Catch you guys then.